3 rounds of draft, done. 5 rounds of modern, done. But there is so much more still to do here at Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch, and we thank each and every one of you for taking the oath and joining us for an amazing weekend of magic. I'm your host, Rich Hagan, alongside the Pro Tour historian Brian David Marshall and Hall of Famer Mr. Randy Buehler. Great to have you with us. We have an amazing weekend of magic lined up. But yesterday, when some people were busy working, we did 3 rounds of draft and 5 rounds of modern. BDM, what stood out for you on day one?
Well, actually, I'm going to let Randy go first because I think what stood out for me sort of plays off of what stood out for him.
I thought it was the Eldrazi deck. No question about it. Channel Fireball and face-to-face games worked together. They came up with this just insanely powerful Eldrazi ramp deck. Main deck Chalice of the Void, I think, was a big key to that. And you've got those guys talking about, that's the team. They haven't played a deck this good at the Pro Tour since Paris 5 years ago, when the same team broke it with Callblade. That's how good this deck is. Those guys are talking about it in Callblade sort of hushed tones.
Right, and for those who haven't seen it, it's worth saying we're calling it an Eldrazi deck. This isn't just about one single card from the last year of Magic. It truly is like this litany of cards from Oath of the Gatewatch.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, Oath of the Gatewatch came out, and suddenly you've got Eldrazi Mimic to come down as a 2-drop. Oh, by the way, Eye of Ugin lets you cast all of your Eldrazi Mimics from your opening hand. Then you follow up with Thought-Knot Seer, or Reality Smasher, maybe both. It is blisteringly fast, so it's an aggressive deck. But again, that main deck Chalice, I think, is the thing that really pushed it over the top. And their winning percentage yesterday was something absurd, like over 70%.
Yeah, and I love the way
with
that...
a lot of players.
Yeah, there's like 20 of them.
And they call it Eldrazi aggro, which on the face of it has to be a mistake, but it's just tremendous stuff. BDM, what about you?
Well, for me, it's the 40-card Eldrazi deck, as I've been calling it.
Okay.
which is Jai-Chin Tao's blue-red Eldrazi deck that's running cards that you associate with limited. Eldrazi Sky Spawner and Vile Aggregate. A lot of the same mana pieces.
That deck. It's great.
Yes. We in the booth, someone joked, they were a clutch of currents away from my favorite draft deck ever. But the deck was unbelievable yesterday. It was a big part of a somewhat unheralded team, East-West Ball, having one of the most successful weekends, if not for Channel Fireball.
Yeah, they have done extraordinary things. They have 2 players in the first pod. They have 2 players in the second pod at 8-0 and 7-1 and 6-2. Just tremendous effort by them. But Randy, we should talk about what's coming, what's happened yesterday, and what's coming in terms of the schedule. So walk us through the weekend.
Sure. Today, we're going to run back the same basic schedule we had yesterday. We're going to start with 3 rounds of booster draft. Everybody is podded, and basically the pods are just straight down the standings. First 8 in the standings, that's pod 1, etc. After those 3 rounds of booster draft, we go back to modern. So they play the same modern decks for the entire weekend. Those 5 rounds of modern are going to determine who makes our top 8, who comes back tomorrow, where they'll be paying best 3 out of 5 for the first time on the Pro Tour in a while.
BDM, talk us through a very simple scoring system.
Sure. Win a match, get 3 points. Lose a match, get 0 points. Draw a match, get 1 point.
And Randy, the big numbers we're looking at, I guess, anything above 12 wins, yep. 37 points, 12 wins, 36 points, an extra point, 37. That's pretty much into the top 8. 36, that's where you and I break out the slide rules and the calculators.
Yeah, historically, some people have snuck in on 12 and 4, but 12 and 4, you're going to need really good tiebreakers if you want to make top 8 with a 12 and 4 record.
And worth noting, 11 wins, 33 match points. It's a magic number for a lot of players who are trying to piece together, multiple qualifications over the year. Getting to 33 points, 11 match wins, 11 and 5, qualifies you for Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad.
Yeah, Randy, let's look at the prize payout, because that's one aspect of it, the pro points that you get, as you see on the right of your screen there.
Yeah, the money is great, $40,000 for the winner. The pro points are also great, as those level you up in the Pro Players Club. Winning the tournament actually automatically gets you to Platinum, which is awesome still. But I'm with Brian. I know that when I played my first Pro Tour, a lot of people come to the Pro Tour, they really want the qualification for the next Pro Tour. Like, the best thing that this money and these pro points let you do is come back and do it again. Right. Like, you just want to get onto that gravy train. You get to keep coming back to the Pro Tour. So that's a big one at 11 wins.
All right, so we begin with 2 8-0 players and 6 7-1s at our first pod. They will sit and they will battle through the morning. it's time for the Day 2 draft here at Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch.
Hello there. Welcome to the booth here at Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch. That's Ian Duke. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. It's early, but it's also time to draft, which is the best time today. So let's get down to the feature match area where we have Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa. We're going to watch him draft Oath of the Gatewatch. Here on the screen, Ian, you can see exactly where Paulo's sitting. He's sitting right next to the Hall of Famer William Huey Jensen. J.C. Tao above him, perfect record. Same thing with Jason Chung at the table. Wow, this table's stacked. Martin Mueller. We saw Lewandowski there from Poland yesterday, crushing it. Frank Lepore and Spanky the Scott Lip. So this is just a ripping pod here for Paulo, and he's definitely going to have his work cut out for him. Why don't we head down to the feature match area, and let's see what Paulo opens up. And welcome to the feature match area here at Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch. We're in Day 2 early in the morning, and it is time to draft. It's the best time of day, Ian Duke. It's time to open up some packs, see what we get, and get a draft going. We're going to start things off with Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa. Now, he looks like he's ready to go. A big yawn. Hopefully he's got a little coffee in him. But I'll tell you what, once you hear that crackle of that booster, it really gets things going. So let's see what Paulo opens for his pack one, pick one, as this will help dictate where he goes. All right, well, it looks like he's got a flare drone and a wall of resurgence, as well as an embodiment of fury pulled to the front here, Ian.
Yeah, embodiment of fury, one of the best red uncommons, a great way to start the draft for sure. Flare drone, also a super great card, does commit you to 2 colors, so you have to think about that a little bit. I'm looking at the embodiment of fury, I think, here, Marshall.
I like that card, too. You know, super powerful. You play it on turn 4. The next turn, if you play a land, you can attack for 7 points of trample damage. And I'll tell you what, if your opponent's stumbling in the slightest, you can just run them over very quickly off of just an embodiment of fury. Also, you know, you mentioned it, sticking to one color has its benefits here. I'll even take that one step further. You know, the flare drone kind of just goes in one deck, like let alone, you know, 1-2 color pair. It's more of a devoid style deck.
Yeah, you're definitely all in if you take that card, which, you know, I do like black-red a lot, but...
Agree.
Ooh, that's a nice one, Marshall.
So, if you can see here, he's picked up a Jory N Ruin Diver, and I think that Paulo's going to take it and maybe move over into this Surge deck that's possible in blue-red.
Yeah, I like Jorian a lot. Just gives you great card flow, super powerful card, basically a must-kill creature, but it's also pretty efficient on stats. So love picking that up here. And also noteworthy, there's a Storm Chaser Mage in the pack.
Saw that, yeah.
Which could come back around because, you know, it's a powerful card, but it's not one of the best multicolor uncommons, and there's a decent chance that just laps around the table.
It's also, it'll be a telling sign for Paulo if it doesn't.
Yeah, he's going to be super happy if he sees that again.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, he might not. All right, I saw a Maw of Kozilek in there, which looked like the best card. Now, Paulo has pulled a slip-through space to the front. There's also an Eldrazi Aggressor, which is kind of medium card.
Yeah, I like Maw of Kozilek a lot. It's really, I think, at its best in blue-red. Blue often wants to pair with colorless mana, and the Maw of Kozilek is a defensive body, so it's just really great for holding down the fort and then, you know, getting extra value out of your Surge cards and Jory N when you have the time to set them up.
He also found an Immobilizer Eldrazi in the uncommon slot in there. I missed that on the first pass.
Yeah, that's a great card as well. A little bit more aggressive than the Maw, but also very, very good.
And here's a Blinding Drone now for Paulo.
Okay. I'm seeing a path for him here, Marshall. I like taking the Blinding Drone a lot. A blue-red deck splashing colorless. Just a great fit for both the Immobilizer Eldrazi and the Blinding Drone.
Now, I want you to tell me, though. Well, first off, what did you do for this set? Because I don't know if everybody at home knows that you worked on this set and had such a big piece of it.
Yeah, so I was the lead developer for this set. That means I was in charge of sort of the final half of design and all the balance for the format, including limited.
So we've got really, you know, a true expert for the set as Paulo finds a gravity negator for the deck. So the question I have for you is, we've seen a blinding drone primarily, but also an immobilizer Eldrazi and now a gravity negator. And all of those ask on some level that you play some amount of colorless, specifically colorless mana. So how is Paulo going to have to prioritize picking up ways to make colorless mana here as we go forward?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the way the format is built, blue is definitely a color that wants to pair with colorless, so he's going to want to look for opportunities to pick up a few colorless lands here and there, as well as other colorless sources. Unknown Shores is definitely one of the premium colorless sources he's looking for.
How about Crumbling Vestige?
Yeah, that's a great one as well.
He's got one here, and I think he's going to take it.
Yeah, definitely the pick in my mind. It looks like Paulo agrees. Any of the lands that can produce colorless mana for you and also colorless are just absolutely at a premium here, especially in blue-red.
And it doesn't look like much for here outside of a gravity negator. He could take a Walker of the Waste, so he's currently on 0 wastes, which are kind of the big payoff for that type of card.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Walker of the Waste. I like the gravity negator a lot. I mean, a 4-mana 2/3 flyer is good, but oh wow, it looks like Paulo does go ahead and pick up the Walker of the Waste.
I'm kind of surprised to see him take that there too.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you only really need 1 waste and play a 5/5 trample for 5 is great value in limited. So maybe he's just taking it early, kind of speculating he'll see some more show up.
Look, this is a great pick here.
Yeah.
So do you take the blinding drone number 2 or the holdout setup?
I definitely take the blinding drone. You do have to balance your colorless rewards versus your colorless fixing, but blinding drone is one of the best colorless rewards, so I'm eagerly snapping that up.
But you know you can start to feel the tension.
You can, yeah.
I love, like, I haven't got very many colorless
That's one of the
lands.
things I love about this format is the sweat of like, okay, I've got all these rewards, but I have to find the mana to back them up as well.
He picks up a negate here, which probably will end up in the sideboard.
And
Jeez, is that a sweep away still in the pack?
There's a sweep away. There's also a wastes.
And a containment
membrane.
membrane.
Wow.
Goodness sakes.
So Paulo has definitely found the right color here with blue. And he's picking up a lot of late rewards, so good for him.
Yeah, nice job from Paulo to kind of feel out his seat, and it seems like he's definitely in the right spot
I
here.
like picking up the call, the Gatewatch there to go with the Chandra that you're planning to open next pack.
Just simply planning ahead.
Yeah.
I like how you think, Ian. That is very smart. All right, and a mighty leap that is unlikely to be relevant to Paulo. So, overall that pack went okay, right?
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy in Paulo's seat here. I mean, you're sweating a little bit in terms of needing to make sure that your colorless mana works out, but I think it's very clear that blue is open. You got the Jory N, you're happy about that. One thing of note, though, we didn't see that Storm Chaser Mage come back around.
Did not come back,
which means that somebody at the table is drafting blue-red, but the good thing is Storm Chaser Mage, I think, is a medium enough card that it probably floated around a little bit. So if I was Paulo, I might be expecting someone on the opposite side of the table to be blue-red, which is really not that bad. That's actually how you want the colors to balance out in draft. You want to be opposite the people that are drafting the same colors, not next to them.
So I'm seeing just the Crumbling Vestige. Is that correct for colorless that you remember?
Yes, that is true so far.
That's going to be an issue for Paulo, right?
Yeah, he's going to want to be looking for things like Cultivator Drone, maybe a Seer's Lantern, really any of the colorless lands. But I think I like picking up 1 wastes exactly, because then if you see an Evolving Wilds in Battle for Zendikar, you can pick that up as both a colorless and colored fixing.
Ooh, there's a Fall of the Titans at the back of that pack.
Oh, that's perfect.
Bang! Nice open here for Paulo. He did the obligatory rare check, and I think he liked what he saw.
Yeah, that's one of the very solid rares to open. It's just a great card on its own. You can cast it for 7 mana, even unsurged. That's great value. If you are able to combine it with cards like Expedite or Slip Through Space, or, hey, even Bonesaw sometimes, it can really pick up a lot there. And what's great about Fall of the Titans is it synergizes with the exact same cards that synergize with Jory N.
Oh, yeah, great point. He's a little bummed here because he did open up a Devour in Flames there as well, which I'm sure he would love for this deck. But, yeah, Fall of the Titans, no question. There was also a Goblin Freerunner in the pack that he would hope to wheel, but it's unlikely that either of those 2 cards will wheel. He'll probably get back a Ancient Crab out of that pack. And what do we see here?
Yeah, a couple nice options.
Collector, not great. Maybe just the Holdout Settlement here?
Yeah, I like the Holdout Settlement or the Seer's Lantern. I'd have to take a careful look at his curve there to see. Seer's Lantern is a card I like to have 1 of. It seems a little bit clunky. It's kind of like a banner in a way. But as the games go along, and sometimes they do in this format, just being able to scry 1 every turn is great value.
Yeah, it looks like he's a little torn between the 2. He's going to go for the land. I've been really impressed by Seer's Lantern. I moved it from I'm playing one of these in my control decks to I'm playing one of these in my mid-range, not my aggro decks. But it just can really have such a great effect in the late part of the game. All right, looks like things are dried up a little bit here. There's a Grip of the Royal in there for Paulo. I think that's his best choice here.
Yeah, it's not like a slam dunk, but it's a card I'm always happy to play.
Yeah. All right, there's the Grip going on to the pile of cards there for Paulo. So things are moving along cleanly for him. Nice little open in pack 2, and he's picked up a couple of cards that he'll be playing.
Yeah,
There's a Roiling Waters.
Oh, Roiling Waters. That's a really powerful card. I
Yeah.
also see Crumbling Vestige as an option here as well.
And another Gravity Negator. That would be, I believe, is
Yeah, or a
third.
Maw of Kozilek, which I actually might like even better than Gravity Negator in his current deck. They're both great additions.
And once again, we see Paulo really torn here, right? Because, yeah, he's going to make the adult pick, right? And take the Crumbling Vestige here rather than the 7-drop. It's a tough spot, right? Because he knows that Roiling Waters is very powerful, and he probably wouldn't hate having a card like that, but he knows he needs to pick up these colorless lands while he can. There's not a whole lot for him to get, like a card of like Holdout Settlements quality in the 3rd pack. He can pick up a few, random colorless lands, but Holdout Settlement actually kind of fixes your mana up a little bit too.
Yeah, I like taking the Holdout Settlement here. Noteworthy, there is another Immobilizer Eldrazi in the pack, but given that he already has one, I think the value goes down a little bit on the second one there. And he has plenty of colorless rewards here, so he just wants to make sure that he gets all set on colorless mana before getting out of the Oath of the Gatewatch packs.
Yeah, remember, those Blinding Drones in his pile are really important to how Paulo's going to win. He does have a Warden of Geometries as an option here.
Yeah, but yet
and
another
Immobilizer Eldrazi
Yeah.
somehow.
I think I like the Immobilizer Eldrazi here. Warden of Geometries is a card I'm fine playing if I need a little bit of extra oomph in the colorless department, but it's not a premium card by any means, so it's more of a filler. Looks like he does pick up the Immobilizer Eldrazi.
No, he took the Cinder
Oh, he
Hellion.
did take the Cinder Hellion.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's going to go for a little bit of top-end punch here. I think that was probably a curve pick for Paulo.
Yep, that makes sense.
And I think he's going to take the Maw. There is a waste in this pack. Oh, he sees a Saddleback Legak. He's like, oh, what is this doing here? But that's not on the radar for Paulo, so he's going to take the Maw.
I like the Maw there a lot.
You think the Walker of the Waste is actually going to make the cut here?
Maybe not. It's really tough. If I were Paulo, I'd love to pick up a Waste, but I'm not going to pick it over just a non-land card that's really good in my deck, like Maw of Kozilek.
Right.
So it may turn out that the Walker doesn't make it.
There's my favorite card in the set.
Which one is that?
Mage.
Reflector Mage? Yeah, super powerful.
I'll tell you what, though, Prophet of Distortion is making a comeback on Reflector Mage for me. I've been loving that.
Yeah.
He's just going to take a Containment Membrane here.
Yeah, I think he was maybe thinking about splashing the Reflector Mage for a little bit there. One of the things of
Which
note,
is reasonable, I think.
Yeah, a lot of the colorless lands produce mana of any color as well, so sometimes it's easy to splash in a colorless deck, which is a little bit counterintuitive.
Hey, there's a Goblin Freerunner. Sweet.
Yeah. Great pickup there, just a solid card.
That's the one that he wheeled. I honestly didn't think that would still be in the pack. Of course, the Devouring Flames did get taken out of that pack. That was not coming back, but the Freerunner coming back is very solid. And the Lantern. Hey, this is coming together pretty nicely here. This deck seems solid to me. I mean, look, he's not, blowing away the table with this thing, but I mean, the guy's has, he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best players ever. Like, this seems like it has all the tools he needs to put together a solid run in the draft.
Definitely.
portion.
I'd be feeling super solid if I was Paulo here. And you know what, Marshall? I'm really glad we're getting to watch this draft because this is like the perfect instructional video for how to balance colorless mana and colorless mana rewards in the format.
It really is.
So for any of you at home who are thinking about, going out to Friday Night Magic this coming week and drafting some Oath of the Gatewatch, this is just an awesome place to look for some good examples of how to draft the format.
Oh, no. That's a Canopy Gorger last pick both times. Poor dinosaur. All right, so that does it for the second pack here. But I should remind you, we've got another, and I have to say that Blue-Red actually gets some really nice pickups in Battle for Zendikar. This is an interesting transition that some of the color pairs really get nice stuff, like the Black-White deck, and this one get hooked up pretty good. But, if you're drafting green here in Oath of the Gatewatch, sometimes you're going to have to lean on your other color in Battle because the green cards in Battle aren't as good.
Yeah, I think as we've gotten toward the end of Battle for Zendikar as a solo format, people really liked blue and red, probably as the top 2 colors in the set. So
Easily.
Paulo's got to be feeling good about his chances here coming up in Battle for Zendikar.
It'll also be interesting to note how the things have changed, right? I think of cards like Benthic Infiltrator, for example, which was a great high pick. It's a lot worse now. You just don't need those.
Yeah,
but Sky Spawner, still
right.
very good.
Yeah, and even any of the Devoid rewards, Ruination Guide and things like that are still going to be great in Paulo's deck.
All right, let's see what Paulo finds here. Well, there was a Benthic Infiltrator in there. Aligned Hedron Network is his rare, and there's a Dampening Pulse. Actually kind of like that Dampening Pulse here.
Yeah, that's a card that kind of snuck under the radar a little bit at the beginning of Battle for Zendikar draft, but I think people have correctly recognized it's really powerful. So I could say taking either the Benthic Infiltrator or the Dampening Pulse here. As you pointed out, the Infiltrator not as strong as it was in Battle for Zendikar, but it's still a Horned Turtle with 2 kinds of upside.
Yeah.
And it's a great defensive creature in Paulo's deck as well.
Yeah, the ingest part just doesn't come up as often, which it did, in battle. Yeah, I actually like the Dampening Pulse over the Infiltrator there, but I think it's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And whoa, there's an on-color rare for you. So he gets past the Brutal Expulsion here, which is a nice flexible card, and one that I'm sure Paulo will be happy to pick up here.
Yeah, just a perfect card for his deck. I think head and shoulders above the rest of the cards on power level, and just the right colors for him.
Hey, that's nice, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'd be super, super happy if Paulo choose here.
By the way, there was another Dampening Pulse in that pack, and the second one is so mean.
Yeah.
It's so mean.
It greatly increases the chances that one comes around, right?
Sure. Okay, couldn't quite see you in a little... Okay, well, he's got a Tide Drifter pulled to the front, and I believe there's a Tightening Coils behind it.
Yeah, both of those would be great additions. I actually like the Tide Drifter maybe a little bit better, but I could see it's very close. I could see picking either one here. Paulo is a little bit short on removal. He does have 2 Blinding Drones and a Containment Membrane or 2. But
2 Containment.
2 Containment Membranes. Okay, so I think that's enough that you can go for the Tide Drifter there.
Okay.
And in some sense, Tide Drifter is kind of like removal by itself, right? Because it blanks their biggest ground creature most of the time.
Oh, there we go. I was like, oh, I guess he could take a Cryptic Cruiser, but no, there was an Eldrazi Sky Spawner hiding behind it, and that's what Paulo wants to see. You see no hesitation with this pick at all.
Yep, perfect card, one of the best blue commons, one of the best commons in general in BFC, and it asks nothing of your deck. Just slots right into any old blue deck.
It's also just a modern staple.
I wouldn't say staple just yet, but we'll see how the rest of the tournament goes.
All right, I'll hold off on staple for you then. Gosh, exert influence now too, and going back, remember those holdout settlements and crumbling vestiges?
Yeah, that's a great point, Marshall.
He could get up to 3 different colors pretty easily, at least for a turn. So this is actually working out really nicely for Paulo. I think this deck has come together very cleanly. He opened up Fall of the Titans, he got past Brutal Expulsion, and now he's gotten past Exert Influence. So the rares are flowing in Paulo Vitor's direction.
Yep,
and,
he got past the Jorian too, right?
That's right, the Jorian as well. Goodness.
Was that another Sky Spawner?
Don't say it was. Oh, it is.
Wow.
Jeez. Oh, and a Clutch of Currents. Hey, we knew he was in the right color with blue, but goodness, this is insane.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is, I heard a little bit of rumblings yesterday that, some of the teams weren't liking blue as much in Oath of the Gatewatch. Some were. Actually, I know Pantheon really liked red and blue, but this could be a factor of a lot of the people at the top of the standings just not respecting blue enough in Oath of the Gatewatch, and Paulo is just getting the hook up here.
And there's a Mist Intruder, another card that has really plummeted in value.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect example of a card that's a lot weaker now with the addition of Oath of the Gatewatch as compared to before.
Yeah, where Benthic Infiltrator still holds its own.
Oh, there's a Dampening Pulse that came back.
It did come back. Jeez, take it this time, Paulo. No.
Looks
Come
like
on.
he's considering the Wavewing Elemental.
certainly
I mean,
is.
it is fair. He is lacking a little bit on his top end as far as creatures that can close out the game.
That's
so.
a good point. And remember, we saw him take the Cinder Hellion earlier as well.
That's right.
It looks like he just doesn't value Dampening Pulse that highly either. Did the other one come back? Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
No,
Yeah.
Merc Strider, again, this is the type of card that you don't see that often. The Aligned Hedron Network actually might be a good pick for him, though, because he doesn't have that many big creatures.
Yeah, and he does have Tappers and Containment Membrane, but blue and red can often struggle for answering big Eldrazi, so that's a card I like having in my sideboard.
Agree. Incubator Drone seems to be the pick out of this pack. No, he's actually just going to take a Swarm Surge.
Yeah, I mean, maybe related to he passed the Flare Drone and I think a Sky Scour or two in the Oath pack, so he might not. He might just be not wanting to go up against a really decked out black-red aggressive deck.
Sure. All right, and as we see Paulo wind down his pack, it's time to grade him.
I'd say A.
No, so he gets 2 grades.
Okay.
Yeah, this is how we do this, Ian. So he gets a grade for his final deck.
Yep.
But more importantly, he gets a grade for how he drafted his seat.
Okay, so I was actually one step ahead of you there, Marshall.
Okay.
My grades are A and A.
I love it.
Yeah, I think I'd be really happy with the deck. You've got a bunch of great rares, just solid curves, solid commons and uncommons as well. And I think Paulo did a great job finding what was open in his seat. And, definitely, I think watching that draft, you can't question that he was in the right color pair.
I agree. Yeah, I think A and A. I think his deck ended up great, and I think he did a really nice job. It's such a it's such a pleasure to watch these these pros draft. Like they just like the only thing you can ever find to argue with them is like one close pick that's like 80%, and you're like, no, I think it's slightly, and
Right.
and that's all you really get. It's nothing. That you're like, whoa, what is this guy doing? He's crazy, and they just
And there
put
were a
together
lot of
these
close
sweet
picks
decks.
there, but I think, he did well.
I think he did too, and I think he's well set up. Again, you have to remember to put it in context. That's Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa holding that deck, right? That's not your friend at the local card shop who's just like, well, you put together a pretty good deck. I mean, those are some powerful tools that he's got, and a lot of rare cards which he's going to be able to leverage. And then it looks like the curve came together nicely, and the real touch that you need to put on it was the colorless mana, right? And I think that he properly navigated those waters in pack 2 of Oath of the Gatewatch, which is, I think that's probably the trickiest thing about that draft that he had to do.
Definitely the case. And the other thing is here, we're at a top part at the Pro Tour. So when you see a deck that good and you're used to compare it to your FNM, this is an even more competitive scene here. So you're really happy when you have a deck that solid here at this level of a tournament.
Absolutely. All right, so that's going to do it for this draft. Let's head over to the news desk and Richard Hagan.
Thanks so much, Marshall. Thanks to Ian Duke there with the call on Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa's draft there. I imagine a note something like, "Dear players to my right, thanks for all the blue, love Paulo." He seems pretty happy with that, and as well, he should be. But he still has 3 rounds to actually play with the deck he's drafted. Will he go towards his 11th Pro Tour top 8, tied with Kai Buddha at the moment in second place behind John Finkel, a distant second. John at 15 Pro Tour top 8s. But Paulo today could break that tie for second all time on the Pro Tour top 8 list. He's 7-1 overnight, and he's made a good stride without playing a turn of magic with his draft deck. Well, also at that table was Martin Müller of Denmark, the captain of the World Magic Cup winning team from 2014 in Nice, and a man who, as part of Team Eureka, is really making waves on the World Magic scene. Why don't we see every pick of his draft here on day 2 of Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch.